Welcome to the short video detailing a multi-dispense inflow. This is also known as an aliquot, and today we're going to visit the best practices for getting the best accuracy and precision out of your aliquot workflow. Just to note, a forward pipette or a transfer operation should be used to get the best accuracy and precision. However, the aliquot is handy for whenever you need to just quickly distribute liquid across a plate. Before we get into the flow program and set up the aliquot, it's important to understand that there are two things to keep in mind. First off, the first dispense or the pre-dispense will always be under the expected volume, and the final dispense or the post-dispense will also be under the expected volume. This is purely due to how the mechanics of the pipette module work, but we will find ways to mitigate these problems to the best of our abilities. So to begin, I'll head to the Build tab, create a new workflow, and I'll label it Aliquot Best Practice. I'll add a new operation, and for this one I'm going to pick the aliquot operation. I'll select a 200 microliter tip rack, and we don't need to change that. I'll use a 2mm Eppendorf tube rack for my source tubes. I won't fill the whole thing. I'll just put 1000 microliters into the first item for now. From here, I can configure my destination plate. And in this case, I'm going to use 280 microliter 96 well plate. Once again, I'll use that as is, as I'm just using it to dispense liquid into. After that, I'll configure my operation. I'll start off by adding a transfer, and in this case, I'm going to add a pre-wetting transfer. Now, this isn't necessarily a mandatory step, but certain liquid types will see a better multi-dispense performance when pre-wetting the tip. So all I'm going to do is add a transfer that aspirates and dispenses the full volume from and to the source before performing the multi-dispense. To do that, I'll simply configure my tip to aspirate 200 microliters and dispense 200 microliters into the source. No other settings really need to be changed. After that, I'll move on to my multi-dispense. As mentioned earlier, we do need to set up a pre-dispense. So when I create this transfer, the first item I dispense into will be the source well, and then I can choose the rest of the wells I want to dispense into. Here, I've set up the tip to aspirate 200 microliters and dispense 10 microliters into each well. With both enough liquid and capacity in the source well, it's important to select this return excess to source parameter. I've set this up in a way that the total number of destinations does not consume all of the available volume, and this sets me up for a post-dispense, which means, by now, we've mitigated both the pre-dispense and the post-dispense volume discrepancies. One more advanced parameter that we can look at is the air gap volume. Now if we just add a small air gap volume, by default it's set to 1, which is fine, then we can aid shearing in the dispense. One other important thing about shearing is that the dispense flow rate should be the same as the air gap flow rate, and you can see this in our liquid class editor. Once all that's checked, we can press save, press done, and now we have an optimized multi-dispense workflow that we can save. Thank you for watching this short instructional. If you do have any questions, we do have an article available on the multi-dispense best practices, or feel free to reach out to one of us at Vion Scientific.